All right, folks. There you are, there you are. Good to see you back. Good to see you back if you are back. Welcome back to the next episode of my later Friday afternoon undertaking, trying to work on my hood of my 98 Mustang GT with the really bad paint job on it. Some of you may remember I talked about the clear coat restore that I put on wrong before, blah, 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 and all that. I just showed you my method that I happen to use today. Sometimes I do it one way, sometimes I do it another. I don't think it really makes a lot of difference. Like I told you folks before, don't overthink it too much. Just do it. Get you some Optimum no rinse, wash, read the label, and clean your car. I don't care. It doesn't really matter how cold it is or how hot it is, except try not to do it in direct sunlight whenever you can. That goes for most all this stuff. But at the end of the last video, I told you I would examine the paint, see if there were contaminants that need to be clay barred off. I didn't think so, but after running my hand across it with a little plastic sandwich bag, I felt a lot of stuff on there. So I decided I am going to just quickly clay bar. It won't take me just a few minutes, just out of an abundance of caution. And clay bar, some of you may know what it is, some of you may not know what it is. There are contaminants that get on your paint, and you cannot remove them by washing and waxing your car, and they are harmful to the finish on your paint. They start off as what we call surface contaminants. They're just laying there. If you have wax on your car, maybe your wax is helping to protect your paint. If you have a ceramic coating, or next up would be a sealant, that's even a little better. Ceramic coating, even better than that. But if you leave them on there too long, they will quickly, what we call, bond to your paint. They just kind of get stuck to it, and you can't get them off with too many methods. And after that, they will become embedded into your paint or your clear coat, which makes them even more difficult. I decided not to decon this car because if you've ever used that Iron X stuff, oh, it stinks to high heaven, and you have to be able to thoroughly rinse your car, and that's just not something I really want to get into in here, and I don't think it's going to be that bad because it hasn't been too long since I did that. I may regret it, but I should have pulled it outside and did that. It's a relatively simple procedure. But what I am going to do is clay bar it, and I can't even remember what brand clay bar I got here, but I'm just going to show you what a chunk of clay bar looks like. That's what it looks like. To me, it's almost like Play-Doh, and it's malleable. And what you do, and I've already done it with this piece, I've folded it over and mashed it and got a flat, clean spot here. And then what you do is you take your, remember this stuff? I have this ONR diluted down according to their instruction as a quick detail, which is what you use as a lube for the clay bar, because this clay bar is abrasive. It is. It will abrade your paint. I would not recommend you clay barring your car unless you're going to be polishing it up with polish, because it will leave some very minor micro marring in your paint. And what you do is, after you make a few passes with it, then you take it, turn it to another clean spot, and you continue on. And I'll show you how that's done here in a moment. And I've got my rubber gloves on today. I don't think this ONR is harmful chemical-wise, but when you can avoid getting chemicals absorbed by your skin, you should do that, I suppose. But the main reason I decided to wear them is this clay bar is kind of sticky too, and it sticks to my skin. It doesn't seem to stick to these gloves as badly, but I'm just gonna do a quick demo on how I do the clay barring, and maybe you'll get the idea. One of the best things you can do for your car, absolutely one of the best, and you probably don't need to do it but a couple of times a year at most. And then you can always do that sandwich bag test. You know, do your Google search. You'll see you just fit a cheap plastic bag over your hand, and you can rub your hand across the paint with that plastic bag on there, and you'll be able to feel if there are any contaminants that need to be clay barred off. A lot of times you don't really get that much on other parts of your car. It's typically the horizontal surfaces and the lower sections of your car where you get a lot of brake dust, that kind of stuff. So you don't clay bar unless you need to, because it is abrasive. So what I do, I just take my 360 mister, filled with up, and all you do is you just rub it across the paint, just like that. Very, very, very light pressure. I don't know if I'm blocking y'all or not. And straight lines where possible. Sometimes you have to squirt a little bit more on there because you want to keep it sliding across the top of this stuff. And I'll be curious to see if even just doing this takes out any of this streaking or whatever the hell it is I've got on here. But you'll be able to tell when you've removed the contaminants, because when you first start rubbing it, you can feel it kind of catching on the things, but then as it gets clean, it starts to slide very easily. And I'm just using enough pressure here to keep the clay bar in contact with the paint. That's all I'm doing. And you'll notice I'm doing it in straight lines. And there's a couple of reasons I do it that way. And one of them is that's the way they taught me to do it. And the other is that way your pad is going to be going circular motions. And so when you'll know when you take out these marks, because they're this way, straight lines. It doesn't matter whether you do straight lines that way or this way. And you could even do a cross hatch like this if you wanted to make sure you've gotten everything out. Doesn't matter. I usually find that that's not necessary, except maybe sometimes on cars that are really bad. This one isn't. And then you just simply take your microfiber towel and clean up your mess. Wipe it up. That's all there is to it. And now I have removed probably 98% of the contaminants that were on this paint. This towel's absolutely dry. It's not a drying towel. It's just a decent quality microfiber towel of sufficient quality. You can't buy it on the retail level. You have to order it. But it hadn't taken out any of those streaks or whatever they are. I didn't really expect that it would. And I'm just very gently wiping this. You're not trying to. I see so many people doing this, man, and they're like, they're bearing down on it. No, it's just light. Just enough pressure to keep it on the car. That's all I'm doing, folks. It's already looking pretty good, except for those streaks that came from whatever they came from. I'm not sure. But that's how you clay bar. And like I say, you can see I didn't pick up a lot, but there were some. But what I'll do is I'll take this, I'll fold it over. You can see it's malleable. And I will squish it out till I get me another flat spot. And this one chunk of clay bar is probably 1/4 or maybe 1/2, I don't know, somewhere less than a half of the chunk that it came You know, it comes in a square. You don't need the whole square. Cut it in half, cut it in thirds, and this one chunk will do several cars. And you keep doing it until it either gets where it'll degrade to the point where it'll just start breaking down on you, and you'll see that, or it just gets so dirty you can't get you a clean spot anymore. Then you know it's done. You either toss it or you relegate it to just doing windows, glass, because you're not going to scratch the glass. But I'm ready for the next step. I'm going to go ahead and finish clay barring this thing, folks, and then I'll bring y'all back for the next part. And that's really all there is to clay barring. It's a simple procedure. And, you know, most of these kits that you can buy in town are fine. They're fine, except all the ones I see, they come with their own spray bottle of detailer, and they come with a little microfiber towel, and those are fine. But I don't need to be paying for spray bottles of quick detailer from town when I make up my own, which is just as effective, if not more, for pennies on the dollar of what those cost. But if you just get caught short and you want to run out and get you a clay bar because you just get inspired that day, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It'll work just as good as what I have. And in fact, one of my buddies, he was getting together all the stuff to do his cars with. He's ordered everything, including a long throw DA polisher. But what I did was order him some clay bar and the stuff to make up his own quick detailer, so that he would get out a little cheaper and probably be maybe a little bit more effective, but at least he won't be wasting money running back and forth to the store buying quick detailer. Because I order that stuff by the gallons, and a gallon of that stuff lasts forever. Or even if you buy like the 32-ounce bottle, I mean, you dilute it down so much, I think it takes 2 ounces for a gallon or 2 gallons, something like that. So it goes a long way. It takes you forever to use it all up. Trust me. All right, hit that subscribe button so you'll get notified of my next segment in this adventure. I'm going to finish clay barring this bad boy, and then I'll get the polisher out and show y'all how I do that. Just how I do it. I'm not saying it's the best way. I'm not saying there aren't better ways or better equipment, better products. It's just my way of doing it that I have learned from others. And a wise man once said, "If I have seen afar, 'tis because I stood on the shoulders of giants." And my experience is even the top detailers in the world all have their own little preferences and idiosyncrasies about products and pads and equipment and buffers. And they all got their own little way of doing things. Although the basics are the same, they just have their own little preferences. And sometimes each car can be different, or each panel on a car can be different, as I think you may have seen on some of my other videos. For example, this hood, I'm almost positive, is a different kind of paint put on a different way than this red paint. Totally different things. So your attack and approach has got to be different. So because it works on one car doesn't mean it'll work on the next car. But we'll talk about that some more when I come back with the next video segment with the polisher, and I'll actually try to film me doing some polishing so you can kind of get a grasp of the basics of doing that. Hey folks, like I say, don't hesitate. You'll be all right. Give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe, make a comment for me, ask a question. Y'all do something. All right, folks, I'll see you next go around. Thank y'all very much.